everybody, my name's Kat and I'd like to welcome you to my tiny kitchen. Today's recipe is an oldie but a goodie. This is actually the first recipe that I ever made. I was a freshman in high school and we had home economics, and that is a thing of the wayside, I guess. I don't know. I haven't been around the school systems long enough to know. I think it's a liability more than anything. So they are going to leave it up to mom and dad to teach you how to cook. Today, we're going to make skillet hamburger pie. Now, I first made this for my mom and dad in 1975 and my brothers, and they loved it so much that I kept it in my recipe repertoire. It has evolved over the years, so there are some things in it that wouldn't have been in it when I was in high school, which is fine. However, it is just a really, really good dish. I put it in a casserole, throw it in the oven, and finish it off. I hope you enjoy it, and let's get cooking. Thank you for watching. So before I get started today, I wanted to share this with you. This is a beautiful sugar cookie that Victor's friends Ezra and Kendall shared with me. This is going to make a really good dessert. I can't wait to dig in. But right now, we need to get our potatoes going. So let's get this going. I got to adjust my camera a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. There you go. So right now I'm cutting up some Yukon Gold potatoes that I'm going to throw into a pot. I'm not going to start them yet. I just want to get them going. Get them in the water and get them ready to go when I get to that part of the recipe. So we're just going to chunk these up, try to keep them as uniform as possible so that they will boil evenly and cook evenly, so when we get ready to mash them, they will be all cooked and I won't have a whole lot of chunks. So here we go. Let's just cut away. Okay, we've got our potatoes all cut up. I've got 5 Yukon Golds and a lot of water, and I'm going to set them on the stove. I'm not going to start them yet because I still have a lot of work to do on the main part of the dish, and we will get to that in just a moment. Thank you. So what we're doing now is I've got a pound of ground chuck here in my favorite Dutch oven, Maggie, and we're going to brown that. And that's our base for our dish. Once we get it browned enough, I'm going to add some more ingredients to it, and then I will have to drain it. I see a lot of fat in this meat. I actually ground this meat myself. We were finding that it was cheaper to grind our own than it was to buy it in the store. So that's what I've been doing. So we're going to get this going first. And then once this is done, we're going to start, almost done, we're going to add a few more ingredients to it. So I got my meat almost completely browned. I did drain a little bit of the grease off of it. I'm going to go ahead and add some onion to the dish. And I'm going to clarify that, saute that a little bit. So we get this going. And while these are sauteing, I'm also going to add 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning. Stir that in really good. And once the onions are sauteed enough, then I'm going to add some garlic. We got this going pretty good. Now that the onions are pretty much clarified, I'm going to add in some garlic. We love our garlic in this family, and I have a tablespoon of crushed garlic that I'm adding. Love that fragrance. It smells so good. And now I'm going to add about 8 ounces of cut green beans, and these are frozen green beans. We didn't have any in our garden this year. I got them from one of the local vegetable stands here in our little town. We have 3 or 4, and I just love the fresh stuff, especially in the summer. I wish we were in an area where we could have summer all year round, but we're not. So now I've got the green beans in. I'm going to add 1/4 cup of flour. Just shake this around. I'm going to mix it in really good. And then, again, I want the flour to cook a little bit. I don't want it to taste pasty or anything, so we're going to stir this around and get the meat and the beans and the onions and everything good and coated. Once they're good and coated, we're going to start adding our wet ingredients. That looks pretty good. So right now I'm going to add 1/3 cup of wine, red wine. I'm using a dry Cabernet. Any red cooking wine is fine. Get that mixed in. And then I'm going to add 2 cups of beef broth. And this will help thin it out a little bit. It's going to thicken as it cooks. And as I'm going to bring this to a boil, and as we get going on this recipe, you'll see more. So we got it stirred. Now we're just going to let it come to a boil, and then I'll put my lid on it. And if you notice, my lid doesn't match my pot. It's a speckled pot, but it fits Maggie. Maggie's lid was a glass lid, and it got broken years and years and years ago. So we're just I'm gonna bring this to a boil. I'll slam the lid on it. We're gonna let it cook for about 45 minutes just to make sure that we get the green beans good and cooked. And I also have 1 cup of mushrooms. Now we freeze our mushrooms because we use a lot of them. So these are actually frozen and they will work fine in the dish. And they'll just cook down and they'll give some flavor to this dish also. So let's get her to a boil. And I won't keep you around for this because I'm sure that like I said before, it's like watching water boil. So once I get it to a boil and I get it cooked for about 45 minutes to an hour, we'll come back and see what we need to do. So it's been about 10 minutes and I moved it to the back burner and turned it back on a low heat, and I tasted it a little bit and thought it might use a little bit of salt, pepper, garlic to add to the flavor. So I'm going to add a teaspoon in right now. We'll get that stirred in. And I'm also going to start the potatoes. Potatoes are on the same side of the burner. I kind of wanted to keep everything on this side because, of course, with a tiny kitchen, I still have to get these potatoes mashed. And I wanted to show you how I mash my potatoes now that I have my new KitchenAid mixer. So we've got potatoes over here and they are starting to heat up. We've got them on high heat, and once they come to a boil, we're going to boil them for about 20 minutes, 20-25 minutes. I'll keep checking them to make sure that they are done for the doneness, and then once they're done, we're going to mash the potatoes and we'll be ready for the rest of it. So our potatoes are done, and I'm going to go ahead and drain them. And then once I get them drained, I will turn you around and you will see my new toy, my KitchenAid mixer, in action. We're going to make some mashed potatoes to go on top of our casserole. In case you're wondering why my voice is changing and why things are, I'm clearing my nose or throat and sniffling. I ended up picking up leaves today out of the yard, and of course there's something out there that I'm allergic to this time of year, and it's affecting me. So it's not affecting my cooking, it's just affecting my voice. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and drain these potatoes. I'm going to pull them off. The gravy's just about ready too. So off the camera, we're draining. And in a second here, I'm going to flip you around so you can see what I'm going to do next. So we're going to shut our burner off. There, that burner's off. I got the back burner on low. I don't want it to, didn't want it to burn, so let me go ahead and I'm going to flip you around, and then we're going to start our mashed potatoes. I think I got you close enough. I may have to tip you a little bit. Let me see if I can tip you a little bit. Yeah, it's about as good as we're going to get, I think. Let me move my mixer over a little closer. So I'm going to add my 5 Yukon Golds that I didn't peel. If you don't want the skin, folks, you can go ahead and peel your potatoes when you're doing this. So right now I've got my Yukon Golds in there. I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of butter. And I've got a teaspoon of garlic powder, a half a teaspoon of garlic salt, and a teaspoon of Italian seasoning in here that I'm going to add. Then I'm going to turn my mixer on a low speed to start with, and then once we get whipped enough, I'll start adding the other ingredients that we're gonna need. So here we go. So those are whipped pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and scrape down the sides of the bowl here so I get everything down in here. And then next, we're going to go ahead and add 1/3 of a cup of sour cream. And 1/4 of a cup of half and half. I would rather use half and half. It kind of makes it a little bit creamier. So now we're going to mix that in. So our potatoes are done. Did very well. I'm loving this new toy I got. It is so fun. And we're going to scrape all this goodness off of here as much as we can. And then I'm going to scrape the sides down, and then we're going to get ready to assemble our dish. So stick around. That's coming up next. So what we're going to do now is we're going to assemble dinner, and I've already got a casserole prepped and greased for this. So we're going to dump our meat, beans, onions mixture into the casserole first and spread that out. And then next what we're going to do is start adding potatoes. I'm going to dollop the potatoes on top of the dish, and then we're going to cover it with some cheese, and throw it in the oven and bake it for about 30 minutes. Everything's pre-cooked, so it just needs to heat through the potatoes and then melt the cheese that's going to go on top of it. So the first thing we're going to do is put our potatoes on top of here. We got a lot today too. I'm almost done. I just recently started baking this instead of cooking it on the stove. You're actually supposed to cook this on the stove top, but I find that it does a lot better. It helps the cheese if you do it in the oven. So we've got that done. Now I'm going to add my cheese. I use sharp cheddar. Family likes the sharp cheddar. The sharper the better. We're going to cover the top of this with the cheese, and then I'm gonna dab it a little bit with some paprika. So it's got a little pretty color in it. That was what the recipe originally called for, so that's what we're going to do. So let's get the cheese on here. Alright, that looks like enough cheese. That's about a cup. Maybe half a cup. Wash my hands off here. And then I'm going to put it in the oven. So throw it in the oven and we'll see you in about 30 minutes, folks. So dinner is ready and it is looking very good. I just got it out of the oven after about 30 minutes. Cheese is melted. It's looking great. And I can't wait to dig in because this is one of my favorites. Couple of things, if I didn't mention earlier, if you don't like skins on your potatoes, you're more than welcome to peel them. We just prefer the skins on our potatoes. The green beans are fresh, but if you don't have fresh, you can use a can of drained cut green beans. Just make sure that if you need to, you add a slurry of a little bit of cornstarch and water. I had mine ready to go but realized I didn't need it, and I had 2 tablespoons of cornstarch and a tablespoon of water just in case I needed to thicken it up a little bit before I put it in the oven. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe, like, make a comment, and let me know what you think. I will show you again, like I normally do, a picture of the plated up food once I get it done. Good night, and thank you so much for joining me.